Practitioners of CBPR operate with the understanding that we must establish and foster trust by building relationships with local actors or community members over time. In order to become effective in this endeavor, we must first develop an awareness of our own personal identities. We need to understand how our personal biographies inform our ability to interpret the world and understanding the problems and envisioning community strengths. It makes sense then that highlighting the differences in our unique personal biographies will also enhance our collective awareness and understanding, thereby enabling us to engage more effectively with the communities we wish to empower. Ortiz-Aragon utilized a reflective activity known as the personal change spider in his workshops with PDGT participants in Peru. The personal change spider was used to familiarize participants with one another and to create an awareness of how social conditioning has shaped their personal identities. This activity also introduced these participants to the complexities involved in the process of change. As practitioners, we can implement this exercise in relationship building activities with community members who wish to engage with us in the research process. In the personal change spider activity, the facilitator instructs each participant to draw a spider with 6 legs. Each leg illustrates changes in a certain area of the participant's life. My personal change spider, for example, illustrates how my hairstyle, clothing style, reading preferences, food preferences, friendship preferences, and name have changed throughout my life. As I shared my spider with other members of my team, we not only realized what we had in common, but also reflected on the differences existing in our unique life experiences. Shedding light upon these differences allows us to discover our own unique strengths and motivates us to use those strengths to enhance our community engagement efforts. Ortiz-Aragon also used the recent changes in residence activity in his workshops with PDGT. This exercise encourages participants to embrace other ways of knowing and allows participants to connect to knowledge embedded in sensory experiences. In the recent changes in residence exercise, each participant is asked to draw their current place of residence and their previous place of residence. These illustrations should be drawn side by side to demonstrate the transition that has taken place in the lives of the participants. As participants are drawing their previous places of residence, they are asked to include things which they do not regret leaving behind, as well as things which were painful to leave behind. As participants are drawing their current places of residence, they are asked to include things which they easily incorporated into their new life, as well as things that they struggled to incorporate into their new life. Participants are then asked to share their recent changes in residence drawings with one another. The recent changes in residence exercise illustrates the experiences of individuals who are attempting to insert their own personal identities and personal biographies into a new location. What happens when there are few similarities to the life and the culture they have left behind? What methods do these individuals use to successfully adapt to their new environment? The PDGT participants involved in this exercise associated the experience of adjusting to a new place of residence with the experience of adjusting to their new work environment at PDGT. These findings indicate that this methodology has the capacity to facilitate the process of building natural bridges between individual and organizational identity and issues. This exercise could also be used by CBPR practitioners who may be facing similar challenges as they attempt to bring their own personal identities into research programs involving community members and other CBPR practitioners. The tools that I described are extremely effective, but their success may be limited by the very practitioners who hope to use them. Practitioners must strive to maintain an awareness of their own assumptions and beliefs, and they must consider how these assumptions might impact interactions with community members involved in the research process. Brookfield suggests that these assumptions are rooted in the histories of our own life experiences. Usually, we are not aware of our own personal assumptions, and we tend to take their existence for granted. These assumptions will not permeate our immediate consciousness unless we pull them to the surface. But how can we go about doing this? Brookfield describes a series of critical reflection exercises which can be used to accomplish this very task. Although these exercises were originally designed for educators, they can be implemented by CBPR practitioners who are facing relational and methodological challenges during the course of the research process. Brookfield himself said it best: if conversational protocols are adopted that are designed to elicit the widest array of viewpoints and that focus on power dynamics and hegemony, we raise the chances of something useful happening. Bohmian dialogue is a critical reflection exercise which is very effective at pushing unrealized assumptions to the surface. Before beginning this exercise, the group must select a storyteller, multiple detectives, and an umpire. The storyteller begins the exercise by describing the occurrence of a problematic incident or event. The rest of the group may not ask questions or interrupt with comments. While the storyteller is speaking, the rest of the group imagines standing in the storyteller's shoes, mentally reliving the experience of the incident through the perspective lens of the storyteller. Once a storyteller has finished speaking, the detectives set out to determine if the storyteller is harboring any assumptions which may have played a role in the incident. The detectives are allowed to ask the storyteller questions about the incident so that they can develop an accurate idea of how the incident may have been experienced by others who were also present at the time. The detectives may not offer the storyteller advice and may only ask questions for the purposes of gathering information. The umpire must intervene if any of these rules are broken. When the questioning phase of the exercise is ended, the detectives are required to respectfully report the assumptions believed to be held by the storyteller. The detectives then describe all of the different ways that the incident may have been experienced and perceived by others. All of the participants are asked to engage in an experiential audit at the conclusion of the exercise. Participants may use this opportunity to describe how their perceptions have been changed by the emergence of new insight. Participants might also use this time to confront the existence of their own personal assumptions and may share their plans to make beneficial changes in the future. The takeaways for this exercise are that Bohmian dialogue stimulates intense critical reflection in groups seeking to deepen their collective understanding of a complex issue. This exercise is highly structured and allows for an organized analysis of the meanings which happen to emerge during this activity. The most important thing to remember, however, is that Bohmian dialogue has the capacity to uncover assumptions that are being held by the participants. Practitioners and community members should work together to develop an awareness of how life experiences and social conditioning have shaped our personal identities. The personal change spider and the recent changes in residence exercise are tools which allow us to engage more effectively with the communities we hope to serve and empower. Practitioners should commit to a life of critical reflection and consistently work to surface hidden assumptions. These assumptions must be addressed before they damage our relationships with community members involved in the research process. Critical reflection exercises, such as Bohmian dialogue, are tools which give practitioners the ability to uncover and challenge hidden assumptions before these assumptions damage valuable relationships and hinder community engagement.